Happy MLB Opening Day. Here are the guaranteed 100% accurate predictions for who wins each division in 2026. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today, your daily source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. Joined by my co-host Bandit, asleep on the couch back there. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, award-winning baseball writer and podcaster. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. And you can find all my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network, presented to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com to get started today, and thanks to them for all of the odds that we're going to use in today's episode. Opening day is today. We had a game on Netflix last night. I think Netflix needs to remember that we were there for the baseball game, not for Netflix. But great time of the year as baseball gets started. The Braves, obviously, don't get started until Friday. They're one of the few teams that do not play on opening day. So we're going to talk about the matchup with the Royals tomorrow. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the 6 divisions, the World Series, and all of that. And I want to spend quite a while on the National League East, because I feel like this is the division that is, both East divisions are kind of up in the air as far as who's going to do what. The American League East, I think, is going to be a fight. There are quite a few talented and improved teams that I could see any one of those of the top 4 with a path to win the division. But the National League East is one of the closest divisions on a 3-team race out there. FanDuel right now has the Mets at plus 130 to win, the Phillies at plus 175, and the Braves at plus 270. Washington's considered one of the longest shots of anybody. They're at plus 8,000 to win the East. I think the only 5th place projected team with worse odds than Washington is the Colorado Rockies at plus 30,000. But that's because they're in a division with the Dodgers. But in the East, and then the Marlins are plus 2,500 to win the division. I think 3rd or 4th place is probably where they end up. So, without getting into injuries, because I think injuries can be the thing that sway any of these races, going off of the talent that they have on the rosters right now, let's look at this National League East. And we'll look at Mets and Phillies, and we'll compare them to the Braves. Because for me, when I look at all of these teams, there are flaws with each one of these teams. There are strengths with each one of these teams. When you get to the New York Mets, they have a collection of very good players. A lot of them are playing new positions or are integrating to a new clubhouse, and you have to see how well they play together. So, Mets, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor. They're both there. They're probably batting 1 and 2. Lindor 1, Soto 2 this year. Lindor coming off of a broken hamate bone in his left hand. He is expected to be available for opening day. I do think his power might get sapped a little bit early, but ultimately he's going to be fine. He's going to be a 5 or 6 WAR player. He's going to kind of, lead. I don't think he'll be a 31 homer guy again, simply because hamate injury early. But Lindor and Soto leading off. Soto's in left field, new position for him. He's played it, I think, one season, maybe when he was in San Diego, he played left field for a season. But moving positions there. Bo Bichette and Jorge Polanco are both new additions to this roster. Bichette's moving from shortstop to third base. Polanco's moving from second to first base. It's going to be an adjustment. I feel like guys in their first season with a new team don't always live up to expectations. Remember when Matt Olson, his first year in Atlanta, he led the league in doubles, but his home run production was down? I feel like that first year, that adjustment period, as they both learn a new clubhouse, a new media environment, but also a new position, Again, there's talent there, but there's some questions about how well they'll perform, especially early. Luis Robert traded from the White Sox to the Mets. What is he going to do as far as the amazing form he showed a couple years ago? Can he get back to that? He'll be in center field. Last year, his WRC plus was below 100. I think his home runs, I think he had what did he have? He had 14 or 15 home runs last year. Not the guy that he was capable of being and had showed at one point in time in his career. But could be like talented player. Can he put it all together? Brett Beatty as the utility man DH. Marcus Semien, 35-year-old Marcus Semien. Defensively, he's very good at second. Offensively, he has slipped. When he was in Texas, part of the reason they were willing to make that deal and trade him away to get out from under that money and to put in a better hitter at second base. So, that's why Texas was willing to move him. What will he do with the Mets? Rookie Carson Bench in right field. He will make his MLB debut today. Francisco Alvarez as the catcher, and then your bench has veteran outfielder Tyrone Taylor, corner infielder Mark Vientos, backup catcher Luis Torrens. There's talent in the lineup, all the way up and down the lineup. There's also a lot of questions about a lot of those guys. Their top two are just as good as anybody else's top two. Lindor and Soto can hang right with, Ohtani and Betts. Or can you pick any team, their top two players versus Lindor and Soto, they can hang. There's potential for those down lineup guys to do it. I don't know if they will, though, right? What are the odds they all click at the same time? It's a legitimate question here. The rotation, there's a ton of options. Freddie Peralta needs to be a legit ace. And I don't think he is that guy. We've talked about this before. I think that he had an outlier 2025 that from the inputs wasn't much different from his previous seasons when he was a solid number 3 or a low-end number 2. He's probably their ace this year. David Peterson, Nolan McLean, Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga. They're going to start off with Sean Manaea in the bullpen, which is wild given how much money he's making. And then a lot of decent depth. Jonah Tong, Christian Scott. They've got rotation depth. Because unlike Atlanta, they haven't lost 4 guys in spring training. But there's just questions about how well that's all going to mesh. And then Devin Williams as the closer. Peripherals were good with the Yankees last year. Performance was not. We'll see what he can do. But I've just got questions. A lot of talent, a lot of questions with the Mets. When you click over to Philly, it's really kind of the same team they had last year. A lot of similar things. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper at the top. Your second and third base are Alec Bowman, Bryson Stott. JT Realmuto's back at catcher. Your outfield shuffled a little bit. They brought in Adolis Garcia after 2 poor seasons in Texas. They brought him in for right. Brandon Marsh is in left. Rookie Justin Crawford will be debuting in the majors on opening day in center field. Another situation where the top of the lineup is very, very good. Their top 3 can hang with a lot of other top 3s in baseball. The middle's not bad. You've got questions at the bottom. Can Adolis Garcia get back to the offensive form he showed in that World Series year for the Rangers? What is with guys betting on former Rangers this year? Brandon Marsh. He's miscast as a center fielder. He'll be in left, assuming Justin Crawford can hang at the major league level. If Crawford can't, guess what? You got to throw Brandon Marsh back in center field, and then you've got to figure out, I guess, utility man Edmundo Sosa or Otto Kemp or Dylan Moore in the corner outfield, which is less than ideal because Johan Rojas is suspended for 80 games for PEDs. The rotation, the top of the rotation, I feel like is as good as anybody else's. Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, very, very good 1-2 punch. I would have put them right. I would have said they're just as good as Sale and Strellenbach if the Braves had Strellenbach, and they don't. Aaron Nola as the 3. provided he's over the health issues that gave him trouble last year, that's a solid number 3. It's not spectacular, but it's solid. Taijuan Walker and Andrew Painter at 4 and 5. Painter has promise. He's never looked the same after that Tommy John surgery. He was the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. He's not anymore. Taijuan Walker was so good, they had him in the bullpen last year. Now he's the number 4. And unlike New York, Zach Wheeler, they're working on getting Zach Wheeler back. He threw a bullpen, I actually think it was on Wednesday, and looked to be okay, but he's not ready yet. And starting pitching depth, they really don't have a lot of it. Yonio Currit, they got from the Tampa Bay Rays. Alan Rangel was a 28-year-old that they got as a minor league free agent last year from the Angels. They've got Bryce Wilson, Tucker Davidson, 2 former Braves. They signed as minor league free agents. They've got Connor Gillespie, who was a former Brave. They signed as a minor league free agent. They're really lacking on starting pitching depth outside of the major leagues. So they need these guys to stay healthy. And knock on wood, for the most part, they have. But at the same time, they've got Taijuan Walker and Andrew Painter, big unknowns as their 4 and 5, and really only have one guy prepared to join. Granted, it is one of the best pitchers in baseball in Zach Wheeler. So, the talent's really good, especially at the top of the lineup. They're all a year older. Almost all of these position players outside of Crawford are, I think Marsh and Stott are 29. Everybody else is in their 30s. And Harper's 33, Schwarber's 33, Turner turns 33 this year. Real Muto's 35, Adolis Garcia's 33. They're all at the point where they are slowing down from a physical perspective. We've already seen it with Real Muto. So there's paths here for either one of these teams to win the division. There's paths here for either one of these teams to finish in 3rd. And if you do see injuries start to impact them like they've impacted the Braves, you can see how any of these teams could slip to 4th. Again, FanDuel has the Mets at plus 130, the Phillies at plus 175, and the Braves at plus 270. And given Atlanta's rotation injuries, it's hard to argue with the concept of them being 3rd right now in the odds. But you could also see how Atlanta could surpass and beat these guys. I feel like the Braves have the single best player in the division, Ronald Acuna Jr. When he is fully healthy, fully armed and operational, he's probably, I would argue, number 1 in baseball number 1 in the division at least, with Juan Soto probably number 2. If it came down to Ronald or Soto, I'm taking Ronald. You have Drake Baldwin. I wrote a piece for premium subscribers of the newsletter just this morning about how, and the reasons why I think Drake Baldwin could be the number 1 offensive catcher in baseball after this season. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, we know the Braves. We know who they are. We know their potential. And if the injured pitchers are able to return and be effective, I do think Atlanta has the deepest pitching staff in the division. But the question is, do they come back? And are they effective when they do? So there's a path here for all 3 teams. And I'm really curious to see maybe exactly what comes out of this division. I've seen a lot of predictions for 2 playoff teams from this division. I have seen a few predictions for 3 playoff teams from this division when you look at the odds to make the playoffs in 2026. 3rd best odds to make the playoffs per FanDuel, New York Mets. 5th best odds, and this is all of baseball, not just National League, is the Phillies. But 10th best odds is the Braves. They have the Braves with a better playoff chance than the Brewers, which kind of feels like a mistake because the Brewers always outperform expectations. But there's a path here for all 3 teams. We could see 2 wild cards come out of the National League East. We'll see what happens. In just a minute, let's talk about the rest of the National League, because I do think the Central's really intriguing. I also wonder if anybody, I'm assuming not, but can anybody catch the Dodgers in the West? We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar. It's our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. It's IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom-infused coffee. This is delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel you need to win your day. They sent me 2 ultimate sampler packs, and it is absolutely fantastic. There is 9 different IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix hydration sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. Some of the flavors of the bars here: peanut butter chip, wild blueberry. I mentioned matcha chai. It's really an unusual sounding one, but it was pretty good. Chocolate sea salt, chocolate mint chip, lemon blueberry, banana nut. Like, all kind of different flavors come in the sampler pack. They do also roll out limited edition and seasonal flavors throughout the year. The hydration mixes have been fantastic. There's everything from sweet tea and lemonade to peach mango, lemon lime. Kind of gets the feeling of a mass market hydration drink. Pina colada, a little bit of a fun one by the pool. Raspberry lemonade, tons of fantastic options. And even the coffee, 200 milligrams of natural caffeine and 4 flavors: original black, vanilla spice, toasted hazelnut, and cafe mocha. So, right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off of all IQ Bar products, including this ultimate sampler pack, plus free shipping. To get that 20% off, text MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about the rest of the National League, because the West is pretty, obvious. Yes, the Dodgers are probably going to win. My question is merely, do you get a wild card team out of there? Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, I think, could all have a shot at making the postseason, depending on how things go with injuries and if they can kind of gel with some of their new additions. Padres probably are the most boom or bust option out there. They do have some aging position players, including at shortstop with Xander Bogaerts, third base with Manny Machado. The rotation has a lot of injury returns and things like that. But the Central is really intriguing to me. FanDuel has the Cubs winning the division over the Brewers, and then even odds for the Pirates and the Reds. And I'm personally hopeful this is the year that the Pirates are competitive. I do think baseball in PNC Park is a lovely thing to do. It looks fantastic on TV. It's on my short list of games to go see. We're going to mention Grand Slam Getaways later. That their trip to the Midwest has a game at PNC Park. So if you want to see the ballpark and some Braves road games, that's the way to do it. But the top of this division, it feels like it should be the Cubs, even though they lost Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki started on the IL for a couple weeks. They have Michael Conforto to fill in for Seiya Suzuki. Not a bad backup plan. He looked pretty decent in spring. But PCA is going to lead off. He just signed a big deal. They signed Alex Bregman for third base. So your infield's like Michael Busch, Alex Bregman, Nico Horner, who can run 300 batting averages and play shortstop caliber defense at second. Dansby Swanson, we all know him. He won a Gold Glove. In retrospect, that's probably the deal that you regret not making the most, was signing and keeping Dansby around in Atlanta. Rookie Moises Ballesteros is going to be the DH. He is technically a catcher, but he's really just a slugger. He'll be at DH. Carson Kelly, Miguel Amaya were quietly one of the best catching duos in baseball last year. They did really well offensively. I think together, when you look at them, Carson Kelly had a 761 OPS. His walk rate was almost 11%. Miguel Amaya had a 124 WRC plus. I think they combined for 30 home runs, something like that. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm looking at the wrong person. They combined for over 20 home runs, and especially Amaya. Amaya slugged 500 and hit 280. Just really good combo that kind of gets underrated. And then if they have an emergency, they have a third catcher on the roster in Ballesteros. So definitely Cubs look good. The bench is solid. The rotation, Matthew Boyd, Cade Horton, Shota Imanaga, Edward Cabrera was a really good trade out of Miami. He's your number 4. Your dude ripping 90-mile-an-hour changeups as your number 4 starter. That's pretty impressive. Jamison Tyone might be the most qualified number 5 starter in baseball. With Justin Steele on the injured list, he's just at a year from his elbow surgery. He's probably not back before the second half, but you could get him back. It's a very impressive lineup. The Brewers, by comparison, are the team that nobody ever accurately predicts or values because they always beat their projections. Jackson Chourio, another year of probably being a superstar. They do move out Freddie Peralta. One of the guys they get back, Brandon Sproat, will be in the rotation on opening day. They also got Jet Williams, who will start off in the minors, but probably is the shortstop in place of Joey Ortiz, or the third baseman in place of Luis Rengifo by, I'd assume, midseason. They've got Christian Yelich as the DH, former Brave William Contreras behind the plate, who his numbers were only down last year because he was playing through a hairline fracture in his hand. Like, he's another candidate to be one of the best offensive catchers in baseball, along with Will Smith and Cal Raleigh and Drake Baldwin and Shea Langoliers of the A's. I think we're kind of underrating him a little bit. But the rotation is a lot of young guys. Brandon Woodruff's the old man at 33. Everybody else, Jacob Mizorowski's 24. Chad Patrick's 27. Brandon Sproat's 25. Kyle Harrison's 24. Another starter they got this spring. This is a trade from Boston in February when they sent Caleb Durbin, former Brave Caleb Durbin, over to the Red Sox. So, like, there's a lot of things to like here. The thing is, projections never accurately value Milwaukee because a lot of what they do are things that aren't best captured by projection systems. Stolen bases, being really good at base running, infield defense, outfield defense for that matter. Garrett Mitchell's a blazing dude in center field. So we'll see what they do, but it's a really intriguing group of guys. I do think that, again, Pirates, Reds, I would love one of them to make a push. I think it'd be really fun for the Pirates simply because they brought in so many veteran hitters. They signed Ryan O'Hearn as a free agent. Gold Glove caliber first baseman. He'll play right field. Brandon Lau at second. Marcell Ozuna's the DH. They get Spencer Horwitz, hopefully for a full season after injury last year, at first. And if everything goes right, they could call up the number 1 prospect in baseball in shortstop Connor Griffin pretty early in the schedule to give the offense another boost. The rotation's going to be, again, it's always really good. They got Paul Skeens. Mitch Keller is a number 2. You can do a lot worse than that. Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, Carmen Wladinski. Like, really good rotation. They've got starters Hunter Barco and Jose Urquidy in the bullpen right now. They're not going to get Jared Jones back, former top prospect, until late in the year after his elbow surgery last year. But, like, they've got a bunch of veterans and they've got some high-end prospects waiting to start as well. Is this the year the offense catches up to the pitching? Maybe. I don't know. It'd be fun. Run out of time in the second segment. Cincinnati, the big thing here, another year of Elly De La Cruz. My fantasy teams are banking on Matt McClain being back to what he could be as a speed and doubles and home run guy at second base after a shoulder injury really kind of ruined 2 seasons for him. Sal Stewart at first base could mash. They signed Eugenio Suarez to be essentially the DH with Cabrian Hayes at third, who can pick it just as good as anybody at third base. The outfield is still a little bit of a question. Noelvi Marte, Will Benson, TJ Friedel. That's been the weakness of this team for a while. They have Nate Lowe and Spencer Steer on the bench, which is a pretty decent bench. The rotation, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns, Brandon Williamson, all 5 guys under the age of 30. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo are on the IL to start the year. Lodolo has a blister. He'll be back soon. Hunter Green pulled a Spencer Schwelbenbach. He had elbow surgery for a bone spur, loose body kind of thing. He's due back mid-season, kind of like Schwellenbach is and Waldrop is. But really good rotation, really bad ballpark for pitchers because it's so tiny. But you can see how they could make things happen too. In just a minute, let's talk about the American League because The National League feels like you kind of know 5 of the 6 playoff teams, and you're trying to figure out 1 or 2, and it feels like you kind of know who the division winners likely are. The American League feels wide open. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Grand Slam Getaways. If you've dreamt of going on the ultimate baseball road trip, this one's for you. Grand Slam Getaways offers bucket list bus trips designed for fans who love the game and want to travel in style. All these trips depart from Atlanta. They include field-level tickets, 3-star hotels, daily breakfast, a full slate of ballparks, and other activities. Each trip includes at least 2 Braves road games, plus appearances by former MLB players, giveaways, and fun side trips to places like the Louisville Slugger Museum, Bull Durham filming locations, and more. Whether you're retired, a baseball nut, or looking for a parent-child summer adventure, this is a stress-free way to hit the road with fellow fans. 3 trips to choose from: May to Florida, June to the Midwest. I think that's the one that has PNC Park in it. July to the Northeast. All of these are timed up to match up with multiple Braves road games and games at other ballparks. So, reserve your spot now with a small deposit. Go to grandslam-getaways.com to make this summer a grand slam. Again, grandslam-getaways.com to let the baseball adventure begin. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby kind of on opening day going around the league, looking at everybody else, and just some quick thoughts on these teams so that you know what's going to happen and you know kind of what to expect here. The American League, I touched on it earlier, probably the most wide open division. The odds reflect that. There are 4 teams at plus 430 or better to win the division. Baltimore at 430, the Blue Jays at plus 310, the Red Sox at plus 280, the Yankees at plus 175. And that's kind of, I have been questioning why the Yankees are so high. And I think last night's game on Netflix, which again, Netflix needs to remember we're here for the baseball, not for Netflix, but 7 runs. This is the highest scoring offense in baseball from last year. They were first in runs, first in homers, first in OPS. They were also third in on base. And they were a top 10 team in stolen bases. So not only did they have a good offense, it wasn't just mashing, right? They were getting on base a lot. They were stealing bags. And so that's really the strength of this team. Obviously, any Aaron Judge team, you're going to have that. But Jazz Chisholm could be a 30-30 dude this year. Jose Caballero is the shortstop while Anthony Volpe's recovering from, a shoulder surgery. Caballero led the majors in stolen bases, I think, last year. Like, he's a speed dude. He's got it there. Ben Rice is just probably the breakout from this team this year. His StatCast card is covered in dark red. I don't think people realize how good Ben Rice could be, and he can help at catcher as well. He needs to catch the Max Fried starts. We know how you say it, but in writing, Fried throwing to Rice is just kind of funny. Also, Ben Rice just signed a endorsement deal with Ben's Rice, so that's really funny. I think that works out well. Uncle Ben's Rice, whatever it's called now. That's funny. The rotation: Max Fried, one of the top prospects, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, who was a former top prospect, Ryan Weathers, they got from Miami in January. He's casually pumping 100 miles an hour in spring. They've got Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John. They've got Carlos Rodon coming back from a bone spur issue. His surgery was in October, and he's due back soon. Clark Schmidt had Tommy John last summer. He had the internal brace last summer, so they're hoping they get him back in the second half. But they've got some really good pitchers coming off the injured list. They also have Luis Gil, who was Rookie of the Year just recently. He is starting off in the minors. They have him. They've got a lot of really good pitching prospects: Carlos LaGrange, Ben Hess, a lot of guys they could call up if they need rotation help. It's a pretty decent, the outfield here. Cody Bellinger, Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, and Randall Grichuk's on the bench as a platoon guy. And then in the minors, they've got Jason Dominguez, former top position player prospect, and Spencer Jones, a giant masher of a center fielder who has a lot of swing and miss issues. Really deep team. The Boston Red Sox, I think if anybody challenges Aaron Judge for the AL MVP, it could be Roman Anthony. I think he's that good. They added Wilson Contreras for first base from the St. Louis Cardinals. They added Caleb Durbin for third base from the Milwaukee Brewers. Not as good as Alex Bregman. They needed to keep Alex Bregman, but the rotation looks to be pretty deep. Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray is a fantastic 1-2 punch. I think Crochet is one of the probably 3 to 5 best pitchers in the American League. Connor Lee Early, the prospect at 3. Ranger Suarez, Mr. 90 miles an hour, as a number 4 is not a bad place to be, although that's a massive contract and he signed for a long time, so it might not end well. But at the very least, there's potential for it to start well in Boston. And then Brain Bello as the 5, guy we saw in spring training a couple times. Him as the 5 is not bad at all. The bullpen, led by Aroldis Chapman again, I felt like a career year last year. Garrett Whitlock as a setup man. I like the bullpen. They do have some position players that they'll get back. Tristan Casas, the first baseman. They could get him back. A couple pitchers. Patrick Sandoval had internal brace surgery in 2024. They should get him back soon. Cutter Crawford had wrist surgery last year. Like, they could get him back sometime this year. And position players, they have Christian Campbell, who can play second base and outfield. He's in the minors still. They've got a lot of pieces here. They really kind of have an extra outfielder because Jarren Duran, Roman Anthony, Wilyer Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, and that kind of ignores Masataka Yoshida. They really have 5 outfielders they can play. So even if they have an injury, they've got somebody. Really deep team here. I should probably go faster on some of these. Baltimore added Pete Alonso. They added Taylor Ward for left field. In the rotation, they traded for Shane Baz. They signed Chris Bassett. They still have Zach Eflin from when they got him from Tampa Bay. Trevor Rogers leads it. Kyle Bradish is the 2. It's not a bad rotation at all. I don't know if anybody's a 1. I don't think they have a number 1 unless Shane Baz takes that step. But it's a pretty decent and deep rotation. The position player group is still really good. They are supposed to get Jackson Holiday back. He had helmet surgery as well. They'll get him back sometime soon. Hessen Kirsten could come back. Jordan Westberg could come back. They could have a lot of really interesting position players. And again, they added Pete Alonso for power, and he's an elite scooper. He's not great at defense. He's pretty bad at defense, but he's elite at scooping balls at first base, I've been told. The Toronto Blue Jays went to the World Series, and then they lost Bo Bichette, but they added Dylan Cease. So, it's kind of okay, yeah, that's not bad. A lot of pieces they could do. Jesus Sanchez in left, trade from Houston. Kazuma Okamoto is going to be their third baseman. They got him out of the NPB. Cody Ponce is going to be the number 4 starter. They got him from the KBO. Could be another really good rotation. Could be another really good offense. And again, they were in the World Series last year. They went to the Game 7. They came IKF being one step faster away from winning the World Series away from LA. So I like this. When you look at the Central, Tigers, Royals, Guardians is probably the order. Tigers and Royals are going to be interesting to watch battle. The Tigers obviously have Skubal, so they have the best pitcher in the American League. They're promoting top prospect Kevin McGonigal. He'll probably be at third base or shortstop on opening day. But they've got him. A lot of these young hitters taking another step forward. The only over 30 guy that's expected to be in the opening day lineup is Javi Baez. And even then, shortstop, center field, but he's not been great offensively. They may go with somebody else, right? So, really interesting there. Rotation, Skubal, Framber Valdez, Jack Flaherty, Justin Verlander, Casey Mize. You can do a lot worse than that as a 1 through 5. They added Kenley Jansen as the closer, brought in a lot of back-end relievers. I like Detroit a lot. When you look at Kansas City, though, and again, we'll talk a lot about them tomorrow. Maikel Garcia broke out last year. You still have Bobby Witt Jr. Vinny Pasquantino had a massive WBC. Salvador Perez is back. You're going to get Carter Jensen behind Salvi as a top catching prospect. Jack Caglione can crush baseballs in right field. He's one of the hardest hitters in baseball. He's going to join that group of the O'Neill Cruz, Giancarlo Stanton, Junior Caminero, Ronald Acuna Jr. group this year. The outfield's always been a problem. It's still a problem. Isaac Collins in left, Cal Isbell in center, Lane Thomas on the bench, Starling Marte on the bench. You need somebody to step up in the outfield, but really good. The rotation, again, really good. I like this team a lot. The West, to me, feels like Seattle's division to lose. This is one of the only divisions that you're finding actually, the only one along with the National League West, where there's a team that is negative something to win, meaning the Mariners are minus 115. You have to bet $115 to win 100. All of the other ways, Astros at plus 300, you bet 100. If they win, you get 300. Seattle, you have to bet 115 to win 100. They're expected to win the division, and then I assume make a deep playoff run. The rotation's always been really good. They did just put Bryce Miller on the DL, but even with that, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu, Luis Castillo, Emerson Hancock is a really good 1 through 5. They added Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals via trade. He's going to play probably third base. Second base could be Cole Young or Ryan Bliss. They've got Rob Refsnyder as a platoon outfielder and first baseman. They brought Josh Naylor back. Randy Rosarena's still there. Julio Rodriguez is still a dude. Like, really good team. The bullpen, they always have a good bullpen. Andres Munoz, Matt Brash are kind of the main guys there. Miles Mastroboni is on the IL. They could get him back soon. JP Crawford on the IL could get him back soon. If they decide they need to do something better at shortstop, they can call up a top 5 in the sport prospect in Colt Emerson. So you really like where Seattle is. The question would be like, can the Astros catch them? Is this the year that the A's make a push? You look at Houston, they just kind of keep losing guys. They've lost in the last couple of years. They lost everybody from Springer to Bregman, all that. But like a full year of health from Yordan Alvarez. Carlos Correa's at third now, with Jeremy Pena at short. Jose Altuve's back at second. I really love the deal, and they got Cam Smith. He's in right field. Christian Walker at first. Isaac Paredes is, I guess, technically a backup infielder right now, but that's the perfect ballpark for him. Nobody pulls balls in the air more than Isaac Paredes, and he's aiming for the Crawford boxes. If he got everyday playing time, that dude could probably hit 30 home runs in that ballpark, despite having low bat speed and low overall exit velocities, because it's the perfect swing and he's in the perfect ballpark. So can they do it? The rotation's kind of Hunter Brown. You like that. You feel good about Mike Burrows. They got him. Christian Javier's the 3. Lance McCullers as the 5. Tatsuya Imai. How does he adjust to the States at 4? You got some guys on the IL. Reno Blanco started on the IL. Brandon Walter on the IL. Hayden Wineski on the IL. All from Tommy John. They could maybe get some of these guys back this year, but it'd be late. Josh Hader's on the injured list. They could get him back. It's like biceps tendonitis or something. A lot of pieces. They've kind of got to all come together here. We'll see what happens. And then the A's, we know the story of the A's. We'll talk about them pretty early in the year because we're going to face them pretty soon, and so we'll end up talking about them. I think they're the second series of the year. But Nick Kurtz was the AL, I think, unanimous Rookie of the Year last year. Shea Langeliers, Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler, Michael Harris's good friend. The other Max Muncy, they acquired Jeff McNeil from the Mets to play second base. One of the better defensive center fielders who can't hit in Denzel Clark. Rotations led by Luis Severino, who was a Braves trade target for a little while because he had his best success with the Mets and Jeremy Hefner's, where he rebuilt his career. Another really interesting and scrappy squad that probably doesn't have enough pitching, but like really exciting offense. They're going to be fun to watch. You're going to have to score runs to beat them because they're going to put up runs. Just tons of fun here. I know I went through a lot of teams really quickly, but listen, I'm excited for opening day. Opening day is here. I'm excited that we are finally back. Let's see how the season plays out. Let's see what the Braves do. Let's see what the injury bug does. We'll see how the baseball gods shine upon us with maybe returns to health. We'll see what happens. Quick programming note how this works. We're going to talk about the Royals tomorrow and everything else you need to know for opening day, the broadcast information that we have and all of that. Starting tomorrow, we're going to do something new, and I'll make a separate playlist for it on YouTube. We're going to do something new where I'm going to try to either go live or do a quick recording and talk about that night's matchup. Once the lineups are out, going through who is batting where, what starting pitcher you're facing, how they like to attack hitters, what they throw to lefties, what they throw to righties, their tendencies, all that kind of stuff. And the goal is to be able to do these for most, if not all, of the games. They're going to be shorter, like the goal is like 10, 15 minutes. But I want to kind of bring you guys the day of the game, a little bit of info about that night's game. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell after you subscribe so that you know when we drop these shows. Because these are going to be a little bit, I'm going to call them time sensitive. There's no point in watching the show the next day because the game would have already been over, right? I'm going to try to drop these as soon as the lineups come out. I'm going to try to go ahead and drop these shows on YouTube so that you can get a preview of that night's game. Everything you need to know how are the Braves going to get attacked by Cole Reagans in game 1 on the mound, things like that. So if you're not subscribed, now is the perfect time to do it. There's also going to be a written component of that over at bravestoday.com. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, go do that as well. We recently turned on the paywall for all of the deep dives, but the game coverage is all free and is going to stay free. So bravestoday.com, go subscribe, go check that out. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.